President Johnson addresses a joint session of Congress to push a voting rights bill aimed at ending discrimination. It would appoint federal voting registrars in some instances and put an end to complicated literacy tests and other hampering tactics. The president referred to the events in Selma as an American tragedy. And throughout the nation, even in Canada, there were marches through the streets of towns and cities. In New York's Harlem, more than 15,000, half of them white, filed somberly through the streets in quiet but agonized protest. The events in Selma had been brought to a climax by a nighttime attack on a white Boston minister by white men. He died 2 days later, many feeling he suffered martyrdom in the cause of civil rights and voting discrimination. The next day, 4 men were held for his murder. For the Reverend James J. Reeb, the demonstrators write his epitaph with this tribute. Selma sprang overnight from an obscure southern town to the front pages of world newspapers. This church was headquarters in the Negro drive for the right to vote, and it was here that Martin Luther King came to lend his support to the campaign. He pointed out that from Selma's 14,000 Negroes, only a few more than 300 had been registered at the polls. When one group set out to march to the Capitol at Montgomery, the procession was broken up violently by state troopers and sheriff's deputies. Then Dr. King led another contingent through the town. This time there is no violence. The 1,000 Negroes and 400 white ministers and civil rights workers reach the end of the bridge where the cordon of troopers stand. They are ordered to turn back. Dr. King confers with the police as the marchers hold their ground. He requests that they be allowed to pray. There are a few minutes of mounting tension. The request to pray is granted, and they kneel in the streets. Informants say that Dr. King turned his marchers at the behest of the White House, an arrangement that had been made in advance to avoid a confrontation that could only end in bloodshed. The troops and deputies stand stolidly by as the prayers are said and the marchers go back to Selma. This Alabama town will go down in the history books as a turning point in the civil rights drive. From the halls of Congress to the smallest crossroads hamlet, people can understand the plea that no American can have freedom and justice unless there is freedom and justice for all. In Selma, there is a lesson to be learned. Cupid is wearing the crown at the palace as the Dutch royal family announces the engagement of Princess Margriet, one of 4 sisters. She is to wed a commoner, Peter van Vollenhoven, a romance that has the blessing of Queen Juliana. The couple have known each other for 2 years, and they waited until Princess Beatrix returned from the West Indies to make the announcement. A bust of the 4 princesses was their silver anniversary present to the King and Queen. The couple get their first taste of what it's like to be in the public eye as the press photographers bear down like a small army. Mr. Van Vollenhoven, a law student, broke an ankle while skiing, but he puts his best foot forward. The fiancé of the princess will be the first commoner ever to marry into the royal House of Orange. The Dutch people have hailed the match, and their first wedding gift is the goodwill of the nation. On one of the sets built for the movie Madam X, there's a party of Hollywood notables on hand to welcome home Constance Bennett, famed cigarette holder and all. The actress has come out of retirement to star with Lana Turner in the classic screenplay. Miss Turner is accompanied by Bob Eaton, while Sandra Dee is escorted by her hubby, Bobby Darin. Ricardo Montalban is also starring in Madam X. The picture marks the return of Miss Bennett after 12 years of retirement. Mervyn LeRoy is the guest of producer Ross Hunter. He's an old friend of Miss Bennett's, as you can readily see. Also on hand is Milton Rackmill, Universal President, with a bus for Sandra Dee. This way-out stocking sheaths the leg of Miko Taka, who has James Shigeta under her spell. Another old-timer on hand, Cesar Romero. John Van Veelen and John Forsythe are both playing in Madam X, a picture that has promise of being a smash comeback vehicle for Constance Bennett.